So what we have to deal, the first news is with respect to science and technology. Science and technology में there is a proper chapter about the space sector. वहाँ पे you study about the orbits, type of satellites, and then types of orbit and ISRO's effort, NASA's effort. So it's relevant for both mains as well as prelims. So you need to understand what is going on in the space affairs, how we are progressing, how the world is progressing, what is going on, what is the future plan. So that we will discuss here. बाकी थोड़ा बहुत आपको आइडिया आई बिलीव होगा ही कि टेक्निकल पार्ट्स में दैट देयर आर टू काइंड्स ऑफ ऑर्बिट, पोलर ऑर्बिट एंड और कौन सा ऑर्बिट होता है दिस है जियोसिंक्रोनस particularly the satellite which goes like this over earth kind of polar orbit. If this is earth, the satellite which goes like this is basically polar orbit around the poles. The satellite which goes like this geosynchronous. If it is on the equator, then it becomes geostationary. The advantage of having geosynchronous is it is focusing at a one point, because the earth is also rotating at the same time. There is a satellite which is also rotating like earth, so that a geosynchronous satellite, particularly geostationary satellite, focus at one place only. Jabki the earth is rotating and the polar satellite is revolving like this, so iska matlab the earth will rotate inside the satellite. So a polar satellite can cover entire earth. A polar satellite covers entire earth. It create imaginary of entire earth. But geosynchronous basically revolves according to the rotation. So if we have 24 hours rotation, so it is revolves 24 hours. अब depending upon थोड़ा सा अगर आप इसे tilt कर दें, तो it becomes geosynchronous. If it is on the equator side, then it is geostationary. And a special case of polar orbit is known as sun synchronous. Means it's a spatial orbit around the poles such that the satellite always faces toward sun. So these are generally the four kind of orbit we often discuss. ज़्यादा detail जरूरत नहीं है. So in that context, तो ये तो बहुत basic है. Nobody will ask anyway. थोड़ा idea तो होना ही चाहिए. Now let us discuss the main thing why we are discussing this news. Recently, World Economic Forum has published an analysis. The analysis was space, the 1.8 trillion opportunity. The news has been published. The World Economic Forum has published a new study that space is a $1.8 trillion opportunity for global economic growth. It is co-authored by McKinsey and Co. It's a kind of consultancy firm, also a credit rating agency. It helps companies to get better rating. Better rating means that when you take a loan, you have a higher chance of getting a loan. जैसे आपके केस में भी कौन ना सिबिल स्कोर. If you have a good CIBIL score, you get easy access to loan. उसी तरह countries and companies की rating होती है, which are known as credit rating agencies. They provide rating to companies as well as government based on their credibility to return the investment. Clear? That is called credit rating agencies. And remember who regulate credit rating agencies in India? SEBI. So please remember this fact for prelims. Who regulate credit rating agencies in India? SEBI regulates. So SEBI is the regulator of CRAs. Please remember that. So fine. So in this we need to understand what is India's role. एक new term है, इसको आप लोग याद रखेंगे prelims के लिए. New space. New space is a new term that is being used in intellectual circle. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? नीचे लिखा हुआ है. New space is basically a movement and a philosophy that advocate private industry. Okay, so far we have government carrying out space explorations. During the Cold War, the Russia and the USA were fighting for the space race, and then now you can say India, China has also joined the space race. So there's a space race going, but it's a very costly adventure, very costly adventure, and the chances of failures are very high. So private sector was unable to do this until recently. Recently आप देखिए जैसे Elon Musk, Tesla, who is the owner of Tesla, SpaceX, a very successful private space launching firm. इसी तरीके से around the world, private sector is now taking the space exploration forward, and that what you call new space. So term याद रखेंगे, new space means the private sector engaging in the launching business, the space flight business. अब let's see what is World Economic Forum. ये सारा prelims level fact है, थोड़ा बहुत याद रखिए. World Economic Forum is an international non-governmental ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. अब एज सून एज यू गो होम एक चीज आपको करना है, गूगल वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम और उसमें देख लेना कौन कौन सी रिपोर्ट ही पब्लिश करता है. हर बार यूपीएससी एक क्वेश्चन पूछ ही लेता है दैट हु पब्लिशेस दिस रिपोर्ट्स. सो वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम में आपको देखना है व्हाट आर द मेजर रिपोर्ट्स पब्लिश इन द पास्ट ईयर. कोई भी हो, आई थिंक 10-11 रिपोर्ट तो होंगी. ओनली रिमेंबर वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम एंड रिमेंबर विच रिपोर्ट. तो नाम याद रखना रिपोर्ट का, ठीक है. प्रीलिम्स में डायरेक्टली इट कैन बी आस्क्ड, तो प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट. सो इट इज बेसिकली अ नॉन गवर्नमेंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन व्हिच इज जिनीवा, स्विट्जरलैंड बेस्ड. It basically a forum that allow political, business, cultural, and other leaders of the society to come there, interact, debate, discuss, basically to shape the future of Earth. Simply stating, more into economic sense. It was founded in 1971. The German engineer Klaus Schwab, जो भी नाम है इसका, ठीक है, he gave a very good term. इस term को याद रखिएगा, stakeholder capitalism. He coined this phrase. The phrase is stakeholder कैपिटलिज्म. अब ये स्टेक होल्डर कैपिटलिज्म क्या होता है? देखिए, द जनरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म इज शेप्ड बाय द क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ सोशलिस्ट. Socialists criticize capitalism as a system that divides society into two classes: the capitalist class, that is the haves, and the working class, that is the have-nots. So he gave a new term known as stakeholder capitalism. According to him, stakeholder capitalism का मतलब होता है it's a capitalism where companies not only focus on profit. Because capitalism का मतलब ही ये होता है, capitalism, the core of capitalism is capital, that is profit. So corporation runs for profit. But he argued no, the company should not run only for profit. That is a short-term goal. They should also have a long-term value creation for the society at large. It is similar to the Gandhian philosophy of trusteeship theory. Similar. Trusteeship theory. Karl Marx, basically who gave communism, he argued that capitalism and the working class, them he called bourgeoisie, the capitalist, and the working class proletariat. Literal meaning is the have-nots. So the capitalist, the bourgeoisie, and the proletariat will fight with each other. Ultimately, the proletariat will win. Why? Because of the sheer numbers. 99% of society is proletariats or the working class. The only 1 to 2% are the capitalists who have the entire wealth of the world. That is what we know. Ultimately, they will fight. And ultimately, the working class will revolt against the capitalists, remove them from the power, and establish a communist society. What is communist society? A classless, stateless society. So please remember, कोई भी पूछे what is communism, you should immediately answer a classless and stateless society. अब classless तो चलो समझ में आ गया हमें. Classless मतलब no rich no poor. Why stateless? Yes, because in liberal democracies, capitalists control governments. They control governments. जैसे आपने देखा ही होगा, you have never seen लाठी charge on capitalists, but you must have seen लाठी charge on working class. So the reason that right now Antilia, the house of Ambani, आप लोग वहां बैठ के चाय नहीं पी रहे हैं, क्यों? Because it is protected by government of India. So capitalists, they fund political parties for campaign. Remember electoral bond issue we discussed in detail. और सीधी सी बात है, if I will give you money, so I want something in return. So capitalists fund political parties and they fund the party that they like. And that party comes into power. Once it comes into power, it will work for you or the capitalist. That was the logic of communism. So he said, without removing the state, you cannot remove capitalism, because state maintains capitalism. अभी हम इसमें तीसरी न्यूज़ है, we will discuss development versus environment. वहां पे हम समझेंगे how this game works, this quid pro quo mechanism. You give me money for election, I will give you contracts, I will dilute regulation for your benefits. Clear है? Please remember this. लेकिन Gandhi disagreed, and that is what he is saying. That is stakeholder capitalism. A capitalist company focusing not only on profit but at the society's welfare at large. Same Gandhi की trusteeship theory है. Gandhi argued that the entire wealth of the society is like a trust. It is placed with capitalists. So the wealth that capitalists have, it is not their personal wealth. It is the wealth of entire society. They can use that wealth, but for everyone's welfare. और यहीं से originate होता है CSR, कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. आपको पता ही होगा, अंडर द कंपनीज एक्ट, under companies act, the company must devote a part of the profit for the welfare of the people. जितना भी प्रॉफिट होता है उसका एक पार्ट कंपल्सरली दे हैव टू यूज फॉर पीपल्स वेलफेयर. दैट इज कॉल्ड कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. देखिए, स्टेक होल्डर कैपिटलिज्म, ट्रस्टीशिप, सीएसआर सबकी सेम फिलोसफी है. द फिलोसफी इज दैट दिस एंटायर वेल्थ बिलोंग टू एवरीवन. Just because you have it, it does not mean it's your personal property. You should use it for everyone's collective welfare. Clear है? तो it's a good term. Please remember this. अब जल्दी से आते हैं. Let's see what is space economy. We know space economy basically involves exploration, satellite technology, and space enabled services. जैसे आपका SpaceX is basically thinking of providing internet services. अभी क्या होता है, योर इंटरनेट जो होता है 80% ऑफ योर इंटरनेट गोज थ्रू ओशियंस. सैटेलाइट से नहीं जाता है. वी थिंक दैट सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन नहीं होता है बिकॉज योर स्मॉल फोन, मोबाइल फोन इज नॉट पावरफुल टू कम्युनिकेट विद अ सैटेलाइट. इट कैन हैव वन वे कम्युनिकेशन. द सैटेलाइट कैन कम्युनिकेट टू यू, यू कैन नॉट कम्युनिकेट बैक. फॉर एग्जाम्पल DTH, डायरेक्ट टू होम, जो टीवी आप देखते हैं, दैट इज डायरेक्ट सैटेलाइट कनेक्शन. Satellite sends a signal and you have a small dish that can capture the signal and ultimately you have a TV. But mobile phone mein that cannot happen because it's a two-way communication. So SpaceX is basically has launched an agenda known as Starlink. Starlink. The purpose of Starlink is to have small satellites placed in near Earth orbit. There are three kinds of orbit: near Earth, middle, and far Earth. उसमें क्या होता है? You have very far satellites near Earth orbit. So satellite will be very near to the Earth, and there will be thousands of satellites which will provide you direct mobile internet connectivity. Advantage: you no longer require to install this station. आपके होता है ना हर जगह पे you have towers. You do not require them anymore. You have a direct small satellite near to your Earth directly communicating with you. Biggest advantage in remote areas of the world. Let's say some remote area in Himalayas. वहां पे भी you will have internet reception. अभी क्या करना पड़ेगा उसके लिए? You have to install a tower that will be connected with the cables to a substation, and from that sea lanes, and that is prone to hacking. The sea lanes होती हैं, they go from the oceans and they are very prone to hacking. It's a direct communication between you and a satellite. That is a big adventure and that is bound to happen. And that's why space economy is a very lucrative term nowadays. ठीक है? Clear everyone? अब देखते हैं द स्पेस रिपोर्ट 2022. और देखिए इसमें माइनिंग भी है, स्पेस टूरिज्म भी है, स्पेस माइनिंग भी है. स्पेस टूरिज्म आपने सुना होगा, द पीपल आर ऑफरिंग के 2030 में हम मार्स पे ले जाएंगे, आपको मून पे ले जाएंगे. स्पेस टूरिज्म. सिमिलरली माइनिंग, a lot of country are looking other worlds. Sometimes we concern ना कि we are exploiting natural resources very fast, earth will lose resources. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने वाला. Even if earth does not have, we have numerous planet in this universe. हम उन्हें exploit कर लेंगे. ठीक है? So we won't have lack of resources. So as soon as the resources on the earth are dwindling, we are thinking of moving toward other planets. पहला हमारा logic है to mine moon. We are thinking of mining on moon, and from there we are thinking of mining on Mars, and slowly we will move around the universe. Biggest advantage, not economic, most important advantage is the second we reach to Mars, humans will never vanish from this universe. Right now we are on one planet. If anything happens to this planet, we are done. But then we will be on two planets. The chances that both planets will die at the same time is very less. So that is the reason we are progressing very hard to reach to Mars. The reason is to save ourselves, because one planet पे dependence खतरनाक होती है. Dinosaurs ने देख लिया. Clear है? बस हालांकि we are intelligent than that. Anyway, so space report has argued that space economy is about to reach around इतना, मतलब it has reached. So there is a growth of around 9%, and it is about to reach 1 trillion by 2040. So basically it's a vast economy. It involves everything from tourism to mining. आपको पता ही होगा, nowadays we are selling houses and everything. Land are being sold. Mars पे, चांद पे लोग property खरीद रहे हैं. You know that. So that is all going on. And as we can see, there is a significant support. 19% increase for space adventures. So every government of this world is investing heavily on space adventures. Reasons, common sense hai. There is a significant rapid decline in the cost, as there is a fundamental rule of economics known as economy of scale. If you do something on vast scale, it often becomes cheaper. That's why the products made by big companies are cheaper and the product made by small companies are costlier, because there is a sharing of resources. So the more we are involving in space race, the more it is becoming cheaper. And plus we know we need more technology, whatever. अब conditions देख लेते हैं. This is India's current scenario. According to DPIIT, remember this institute? Department for Promotion of Private Companies. They are selling it. You can buy it. अभी आएंगे उस पे हम. DPIIT, it is under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Department for Promotion of Internal Trade or Traffic, ऐसे कुछ इसका नाम नहीं आ रहा मुझे. तो DPIIT, remember, it's the nodal body for Startup India. तो जैसे who regulates credit rating agencies? SEBI. Who regulates startups in India? DPIIT. याद रखिएगा, startups are governed by DPIIT. It is under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So according to that, there is a surge from 1 to 189 startups in India. So this is one achievement Modi government can be very proud of. Startup India mein, indeed, India has done wondrously since the Modi government has come into power. Why? Because Modi government is purely capitalist, neoliberal we call it. So they are making it very easy to start businesses. The startups mein, yes, Modi government has unparalleled record. You can see from one startup in 2014 in space, now we have around 189. It's a significant improvement. Plus India's space startup has reached around 124 billion. ISRO to aapko pata hi hai. And we are gaining a lot of money also. ISRO is launching satellite of private firms. The small startups, they cannot have a launcher of their own. So what they do, they contact ISRO. ISRO put their satellite or jo bhi wo karna chahte hain in the space orbit. So some paisa bhi kama rahe hain. So ISRO is earning a large amount of money. Now let us see the legal framework. The legal framework is Outer Space Treaty. How the legal framework governs space race in India? Please remember Outer Space Treaty 1967. अब ये क्या है देख लेते हैं. There are a number of treaties governing the space race. This is the most prominent one. It was signed in 1967 between UK, USA and Russia. Because they were having a space race, there was a concern. The concern was, at that point of time, we did not have ballistic missiles. The missile system तीन प्रकार के होते हैं. The rockets, the ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. Rockets आपको पता है. Rockets means it's a setup which you once launch, you cannot control it. You point at a location and then you launch it. Once it is launched, you cannot control the direction. That is called rocket. It is unguided throughout its path. अब target वहां से move कर गया, तो rocket will not hit the target. Ballistic missiles, they are partially controlled. What happens? They launch from here, they will go to the outer space and then they enter back. So for a large part of their journey, they travel from outer space. They go from, for example, we launch a ballistic missile toward Russia. So it will go from India, go to the outer space and then enter into the space, ultimately hit Russia. That is what you call ballistic missiles. 1960s में हमारे पास ऐसी technology नहीं थी. And the war was going on, Cold War between USA and USSR. So there was a very good idea came into the mind of USA, known as Strategic Defense Initiative, popularly known as Star Wars. उसी के नाम पे वो movie बनी है Star Wars. Logic of USA was that why shouldn't we place nuclear weapons in satellites? अब satellites so can go out of the country, it will be over Russia, launch it. That is what you call Star Wars, a strategic defense initiative. And Russia was thinking the same, because ballistic nahi hai hamare paas, but we can have missiles placed in satellites which will hover over the country and you can use it whenever you want to drop a missile. But there was a concern that the space will be used for nuclear warfare and you cannot predict the outcome. So ये treaty हमने sign कर ली. समझ में treaty का logic क्या था? This treaty was to prevent any armanization, any warfare in the outer space. That was a prime logic. Right now, it has been signed by all the nations. That's why it is known as the Constitution of Outer Space. जैसे the Constitution of Seas is known as UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas. It's the Constitution of Sea. इसी तरह the Constitution of Outer Space is known as OST, Outer Space Treaty. Please remember. Let's see what are the provision. Under the treaty, no country whatsoever can place any weapon of mass destruction. Under the treaty, no country can place weapon of mass destruction or perform any military maneuver in any orbit of Earth, Moon, or any celestial body. Simply stating, you cannot have any warfare outside Earth's atmosphere. Simply stating. Second, no government can claim any. ये बहुत important point है. Because there is a rule of, there is a natural law of property. Natural law of property क्या है? नहीं, natural law of property है, if there is an uncontrolled land, nobody have it. The first person to reach there and claim gets the property. Because this earth we commonly inherited and we have made countries out of it. So मान लेते हैं tomorrow a new islands emerge for tectonic activity. A new island emerge, for example, in Indian Ocean. So the country which will capture that island first, that is their property. Primarily agriculture. Once you reach there, do the agriculture. जिसने पहले कर दिया वो property उसकी हो जाती है. That's a natural law of property. It applies everywhere. That was what used by Americans or the British to capture America. The American lands उन्होंने ऐसे ही capture किया था. They claim it. They claim it that we have inherited it by our force. आपको पता ही होगा, the British went into America, killed everyone there and captured America as their personal property. ठीक है, clear this much? इसमें हमें clarity मिल गई कि even if America reaches to Mars first, it cannot claim Mars. वरना imagine कीजिए you're a superpower, America. America can reach to Mars first, install defense mechanisms, and then it will not allow any country to reach Mars. It will say, take permit from me. Mars is new America. अब ऐसे थोड़ी ना allow कर सकते हैं हम. अब आप मून पे पहले पहुंच गए तो मून आपके बाप का थोड़ी ना हो गया. So in that scenario, we have made it clear that even if you reach on a territory first, you cannot claim that territory as your property. It means it's a common inheritance of all humanity. It's a common inheritance. आप मार्स पे पहले पहुंच जाओगे तब भी आप मार्स क्लेम नहीं कर सकते. क्लियर है? That's a good point. So दो पॉइंट हमें समझ में आया. पहला ये, under this treaty no country can carry out any military maneuver in outer space. Second, no one can claim any celestial object. It's a common inheritance of all the humanity, and the country will be liable and fully responsible to any damage by their space adventure. Let's say I launch a satellite and it hit the American satellite. I will be responsible to pay America for the satellite damage. Okay, that is what it is. The country will be fully responsible and liable for your space adventure. अगर हमने satellite launch करी है, somehow it hits American satellite, so we have to pay Americans for the damage to their satellite. There's a clarity over here. अब issue क्या है? There are some issues. पहला, some countries challenged this in 1970s. They said, right now आपको पता होगा, there is something called airspace. Outer space is different, airspace within the atmosphere. Every country's airspace above the country is the sovereign territory of a country. The airspace that is from the from your tropopause to आपका land is India's sovereign space. If a flight enters into Indian airspace, they must take the permission from Indian government. Similarly, हर देश का जो airspace है above the country is their sovereign territory. If you enter there, you must abide by the rules and regulation of that country. Just for example, if a plane goes from Saudi Arabia, they close down all alcohol. क्योंकि Saudi Arabia में alcohol is banned. And if आपको कौन check करने वाला है वैसे? You're going from the airspace, but there's a condition. As soon as you enter into the Saudi Arabian airspace, you must close down all alcohol servings. When you go out of the airspace, फिर आप दोबारा शुरू कर सकते हैं. That because that is a sovereign territory of Saudi. अब similar basis पे some country claimed that जिस तरीके से we have airspace, उसी तरीके से the outer space above our territory shall be our sovereign property. हालांकि it was denied. The country is denied. तो outer space challenge किया गया था, लेकिन right now it is not anybody's property. Concept सबको समझ में आया? Land is your sovereign property, airspace is a sovereign property, but the outer space above the airspace is nobody's property. It's the joint inheritance of entire humanity. Second point, this is a big point, it does not cover, ये इसमें कमी है, बिकॉज देखिए टीटी कब साइन हुए 1960s, तब तो बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल थी नहीं हमारे पास. And ballistic missile, I just told you, it travels from outer space. It goes from atmosphere, then outer space, again in atmosphere and hit the target. So for a major portion, the ballistic missiles travel in outer space. And when this TTV signed, ballistic missiles were not available. That technology we did not have. So this treaty even today does not cover ballistic missiles. So there is no clarity over this. कोई बोला? हाँ, तो अब जब अमेंड होगा तब देख लेंगे. फिलहाल इसमें वीकनेस है ये. Clear है? This is one of the weakness. It does not cover ballistic missile as of now. Let's take the example. 2007 में China shot down its own satellite. हमने भी shot down की थी, अगर आपको याद हो, ASAT. Operation शक्ति बोलते हैं इसे. America also now have the capacity. India. India is one of the very few countries which are capable of shooting down their satellites in outer space. बहुत कम कंट्रीज हैं जो अर्थ से वी कैन लॉन्च अ मिसाइल, इट विल हिट एनी ऑब्जेक्ट इन द आउटर स्पेस. इंडिया इज वन ऑफ दोस कंट्री. वी रिसेंटली बिकेम दैट पावरफुल. पर इसमें क्या होता है, यू आर सेंडिंग अ मिसाइल फ्रॉम अर्थ इन द आउटर स्पेस, हिटिंग अ टारगेट इन आउटर स्पेस. Disadvantage, because मैंने आपको बताया ना, this treaty does not, this treaty says that you cannot have any military maneuver in outer space. So this is a gray area. इसमें अभी क्लियरिटी नहीं है कि बैलिस्टिक मिसाइल आएंगी या नहीं आएंगी. तो whenever it will be amended हम देख लेंगे. अब लास्ट पॉइंट, ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है. सॉरी, किसने तोड़ा? क्योंकि सैटेलाइट्स मैंने आपको बताया ना, दे कैन कवर एंटायर अर्थ, दे कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर स्पाई एक्टिविटीज. फॉर एग्जांपल 1974 में व्हेन वी वर ट्राइंग टू बिकम न्यूक्लियर पावर, अमेरिका हैड सैटेलाइट डेडिकेटेड टू इंडिया. Those satellites were keeping India focus on India, so we knew their path. So whenever the satellite used to move away from India, because they were in geosynchronous ना, उस वक्त हम एक्टिविटी करते थे. जैसी सैटेलाइट ऊपर आई हमने फिर छुपा दिया, फिर वो गई, फिर हमने शुरू करा. Satellites are often used for spy activities also. And if you have a satellite which can trace my spy activities, of course I will shoot it down. In case of a war में तो I don't want you to know my maneuver, and your satellite say you can capture image. Understand, right now satellites are so powerful that a satellite in outer space can read the headlines in your phone. इतने हाई रेजोल्यूशन सैटेलाइट्स हमारे पास. आप फोन में एक माइक्रो लाइन देख रहे हैं, वो भी हम सैटेलाइट से क्लियर देख सकते हैं. दैट इज द रेजोल्यूशन वी हैव नाउ इन सैटेलाइट्स. तो ऐसी सैटेलाइट तो खतरनाक है ना हमारे लिए, क्योंकि दूसरे की करोगे बुरा मान जाएगा ना वो. टेस्टिंग के लिए, टेस्टिंग भी है तो हमने अपने देश में करी थी, हमने अमेरिका में थोड़ा ना टेस्टिंग करी. टेस्टिंग करने के लिए सो दैट वी कैन हैव द कैपेसिटी. हम बिल्ड कर लेंगे मिसाइल, जिस दिन वॉर होगी उस दिन उनकी गिरा देंगे 3-4. ठीक है? यस, दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम. इट विल क्रिएट अ लॉट ऑफ गार्बेज है ही आउटर स्पेस में बहुत सारा. एंड देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम, दिस अभी इसमें हम आगे पढ़ेंगे. द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम इन आउटर स्पेस इज देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ गार्बेज देयर. अब उसे क्लीन कैसे करें? द कंट्रीज आर ट्राइंग टू क्लीन इट आउट, बट अभी क्लीन नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. और रिमेंबर, इवन अ स्मॉल निडल, आपने देखा होगा, 3 Idiots आपने देखी होगी, इन दैट ही रेज अ क्वेश्चन कि पेंसिल क्यों नहीं इस्तेमाल करी. ठीक है, बिकॉज द इवन अ स्मॉल निडल ऑफ द पेन or the pencil, if it floats in zero gravity, it requires sufficient acceleration, it can penetrate through your body in seconds. It will be more powerful than a bullet, penetrate inside your suit and the body itself. ठीक है, इसलिए the small debris that we are having is a big problem. तो यही प्रॉब्लम यहाँ हुई थी जब चाइना ने अपनी सैटेलाइट खराब करी, हमने करी, तो there was a concern of the debris. पर कोई बात नहीं. Clear this point? अब लास्ट पॉइंट. This treaty was signed in 1960s. अब 1960s में countries were exploring the world, the universe. Private was not exploring. So this treaty does not bind private companies. So these are the loophole of the treaty. पहला, it does not cover ballistic missiles. दूसरा, it has no clarity over sovereignty of outer space. हालांकि वो reject हो चुकी है. Third, most important, it covers only countries, sovereign governments. It does not cover. इसलिए you have the private companies sailing land on various areas. आपने सुना होगा किसी ने मार्स पे जगह खरीद ली है, किसी ने मून पे जगह खरीद ली है. These are private companies. वो तो कुछ भी बेच सकती है. Government cannot sell anything. Why? Because they are under compulsion of the treaty. Private companies are not under compulsion. So what is right now happening is every country is pushing their private corporations. They know we are bound by a treaty, but private companies are not bound by a treaty. So हर देश क्या कोशिश कर रहा है? Push their private corporations. If they will reach to some area and claim some area, there is no legality over there. So this is a loophole. Cover हो जाएगा, don't worry, कुछ समय बाद. Third thing, it covers only weapons of. It does not cover ordinary weapons. So this is another loophole. However, technically it's a binding, पर एक problem है. I have to impose some treaty. उसके लिए मुझे क्या चाहिए होगा? Police. Police impose laws. It's a law of outer space. Who will impose this law? एक ही organization है दुनिया में जिसका नाम है United Nations. A outer space treaty can be imposed by United Nations only because that is a kind of global police. But there's a problem. We have discussed multiple times. Dominated by 5 countries. Because United Nations में you have P5. So even if they violate OST, you cannot do anything against them. So this is a very fundamental weakness. We need to have some, but nonetheless, एक बात समझ लीजिए, usually countries do not disobey treaties easily. Okay, there is a moralistic running force here. ऐसे आप कुछ भी claim कर सकते हो. तो usually countries, इसीलिए देखिए इसमें point मैंने लिखा है, it has never been violated so far. Even though UN enforced this treaty, अभी तक तो ये violate नहीं हुई है. There have been some cases where China shot down its own satellite, we shot down our own satellite just to test anti-satellite missiles. वो एक दो इंसिडेंट छोड़ दे तो generally this treaty has not been violated. Clear है? So please remember the provisions of the treaty, and most important, remember the loopholes. Does not cover ballistic missiles, does not cover private sector, does not cover ordinary weapons, and it does not have a proper enforcement mechanism except United Nations. तो इसका करे क्या? We can do something. United Nations has 6 organs. 6 ही है ना शायद? हाँ. In that there is one organ of UN which is right now defunct or dead, known as UN Trusteeship Council. UN के organs हैं, उसमें एक organ है जिसका नाम है Trusteeship Council. That organ is dead because Trusteeship Council was made to capture territory which is under war. इसको बनाया गया था, मान लेते 2 countries are fighting over a land. So till the time we resolve the dispute, UN Trusteeship Council will hold that land. Right now दुनिया में ऐसा कोई land नहीं है which is not occupied. तो suggestion ये करा जा रहा है, why shouldn't we give governance of outer space and governance of the high seas, that is OST treaty and the UN clause, under Trusteeship Council? Let it become the government of the outer space. सबको समझ में आया क्या suggestion है? That UN Trusteeship Council, which is now a dead body, can behave as a government of outer space, regulating the affairs of the countries. That is a suggestion. देखते हैं क्या होता है आगे. Clear? Now let us discuss Rajeshwari Rajagopalan. She wrote an article about the space race that is going on right now. So let's see what she has to talk about. US has a space policy directive. US has a space policy directive and also Space Act 2015. Under this, USA has commanded its agency NASA to lead exploration with commercial and international partners. Matlab, under this directive, the US government has asked NASA to help the private sector to reach to the exploration like SpaceX. समझ में आया? तो please remember USA is doing this. बाकी देखते हैं. European Space Agency का भी यही प्रोग्राम है. European Space Agency has planned to mine for oxygen and water in moon. Similarly, other countries, China, India, JAXA, Japan Space Organization, Roscosmos, Russian Space Organization, all have programs for creating space station, and most important, all have program to capture moon as a launching site. अभी क्या होता है? We launch from Earth, and Earth has atmosphere that interferes. So हमारा logic ये है, we will take parts to moon. And moon पे we will have a launching station. Moon की gravity भी बहुत कम है, तो we will require very less fuel. Earth के मुकाबले में 1/6 I believe. So the logic here is we will take parts from Earth on the moon, and moon पे we will have launching stations. and from moon we will launch satellite space exploration for the universe beyond, and every country has that program. Clear है? तो there is a, right now a space race is going on. Every country is running for this race to capture more and more the world. बहुत सारे रीजन है, कमर्शियल रीजंस भी हैं, because understand, if I reach to Mars first, I may not claim that Mars, but I can claim travel to Mars. और जो पहले पहुंचेगा उसे एडवांटेज मिलेगा ही मिलेगा. By the time other country will reach to Mars, I will be sufficiently developed with all infrastructure on Mars. Then I will be providing houses on Mars. जब आप कोशिश कर रहे होगे पहुंचने की, तो every country is right now in a race for space tourism, space tourism, space mining, space exploration, और सारे देश इसमें इन्वॉल्व है. क्लियर है? अगला देख लेते हैं. नहीं, ये तो मैंने आपको बताया, इसमें काफी पैसा लगता है, तो सरकारी स्पेस एजेंसीज हैं, दे आर पुशिंग प्राइवेट सेक्टर. जैसे इंडिया में भी मैंने आपको बताया 189 स्टार्टअप्स हैं स्पेस के. उसे कौन मदद कर रहा है? इसरो मदद कर रहा है. इसी तरह स्पेस एक्स को किसने मदद करी? नासा ने मदद करी इन द इनिशियल फेज टू प्रोवाइडिंग टेक्नोलॉजी एंड अदर थिंग्स. चाइना का भी अपना प्लान है, देख लीजिए. चाइना हैज अ प्लान टू क्रिएट अ रिसर्च बेस इन मून. China is pushing to create a research base in moon, and China wants its own space station known as, जो भी नाम है, Heavenly Palace. अब ये मुझे नहीं पता त्यांगोंग क्या है. जो भी है. So China is looking for a space station in on moon and as well, sorry, a research station on moon and a space station. क्यों? Right now दुनिया में एक ही space research station है, जिसे बोलते हैं इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन. It is a joint governance. इट्स इन लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट. लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट में क्यों है? रिपेयर करना पड़ता है उसे. रिपेयर करने के लिए इट मस्ट बी इन लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट. आप उसे नेकेड आई से देख सकते हैं. यू कैन गूगल इस ट्रैजेक्टरी एंड आप उसे इन द इवनिंग टाइम यू कैन सी इट इन द स्पेस above your roof. इजिली दिख जाता है वो. इट इज द ओनली रिसर्च स्टेशन विच इज मेड बाय जॉइंट कोलैबोरेशन. इसका लॉजिक क्या है? लॉजिक ये है, इफ वी फाइंड एनी स्पीशीज नॉट ऑन अर्थ, अर्थ बियॉन्ड, मार्स पे या मून पे, we don't want to bring it to earth first. देखिए, bringing a alien species to earth is a danger. हमें नहीं पता वो species क्या capability रखती है, and bringing an alien species can be a danger. तो कोशिश हमारी क्या रहेगी? If we find anything on external planets, we will bring that to international space station first and do all the research there only. When we are confirmed it may not be a danger, then we may bring that to earth. We don't want to risk Earth. हमारे पास एक ही planet है, हम मार्स पे पहुंच जाएंगे फिर बात अलग है. ठीक है? Clear this much? अब अगला देख लेते हैं. We have initiated space security dialogue. India and Japan together have initiated space security dialogue for the same reason. Security in the outer space, space police. आपको पता होगा, Donald Trump, America, has launched a 5th branch of army, space force. आपको पता, एयरफोर्स आपने सुना होगा, आर्मी आपने सुना होगा, नेवी आपने सुना होगा. अमेरिका में एक और ब्रांच बनाई गई है, नई आर्मी ब्रांच है, जिसका नाम है स्पेस फोर्स. अमेरिका इज टेकिंग अ लीड. अमेरिका इज रेजिंग अ फुल फ्लेज्ड आर्मी फॉर स्पेस गवर्नेंस. क्योंकि अमेरिका का लॉजिक क्या है? इट विल रीच फर्स्ट, एंड व्हेन इट विल रीच फर्स्ट, इट विल बिकम द पुलिसमैन ऑफ द ग्लोबल रेस. अगर किसी को दुनिया में कहीं जाना है या यूनिवर्स में कहीं जाना है, तो अमेरिका की परमिशन से जाना पड़ेगा. तो अमेरिका हैज लॉन्च स्पेस फोर्स. हालांकि इसका मजाक बनाया गया डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प का राइट नाउ कि घर पे खाने को नहीं है, तुम स्पेस फोर्स लॉन्च कर रहे हो. बट देखिए, विजन अच्छा है, बिकॉज ये होने वाला है. In the upcoming 20-30 years, it is bound to happen. We will be present on Mars full-fledged, and chances, if goes good, कोशिश तो हमारी वैसे 2040 तक है, अगर चीजें ठीक रही तो at latest by 2050 we may be on Mars. उस समय में you will need a police force. तो America has taken a lead. By the time nation will decide, it will have a full-fledged armed force to govern the space affairs. ठीक है, इसी तरह से that's why we have launched space security dialogue regarding all the pollution और जो भी ड्रामे हम करने वाले हैं. ठीक है, बाकी सब हो गया. ठीक, fine, this is what we have. अब let's see India's initiative. All initiative are important for prelims particularly. Most important, this bill. It is just a draft, अभी introduce भी नहीं हुआ है. Draft Space Activity Bill 2017. What is this bill? This bill applies to every citizen of India and to all sectors in any space activity. under this bill, if there is any Indian, whether living in India or outside India, if they engage in any space activity, it will be governed by a law of parliament known as space activity bill. अभी ये draft है, देखते हैं पास होता है नहीं होता. Second point, the central government has the power to regulate all commercial space activities. मतलब all the private sector of India, whether in India or outside India, if they engage in any space activity, they will have to take permission licenses from the government of India. It will be the regulator basically. And most important, of course, it provides some liabilities, some penalties. वो तो हर जगह होता है. Most important is, ये सबसे important point है, that any intellectual property, this law says, अभी पास नहीं हुआ है, this law says if anyone of Indian origin or Indian descent, if they discover any new thing in the universe, that will be owned by government of India. Any intellectual property in the space will be a property of government of India. You may use it, but आप claim नहीं कर पाओगे, it's my intellectual property. मुझे उम्मीद कम है ये provision पास होगा, क्योंकि फिर लॉजिक खत्म हो जाता है. ऑब्वियसली बात है, मैं क्यों मेहनत करूंगा जब सारा को सरकार का हो जाएगा. तो इट्स अ ड्राफ्ट बिल, ये प्रपोजल है. आई बिलीव ये पॉइंट तो होने वाला है नहीं, बिकॉज इट डज नॉट मेक एनी सेंस. इफ आई एम एंगेजिंग इन वर्ल्ड एक्सप्लोरेशन, आई एम टेकिंग ह्यूज रिस्क, एंड फिर आप कहते हो कि सारी इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी आपकी होगी. दैट डज नॉट मेक एनी सेंस. एनीवे, नेक्स्ट देखते हैं. इसरो. इसरो हैज ब्रांचेस. नंबर 1 इज अंतरिक्ष. अंतरिक्ष इज अ ब्रांच फॉर फॉरेन मार्केट. इसरो की ब्रांच है अंतरिक्ष. It helps the foreign market, foreign startups, companies to contact ISRO, and ISRO will launch their satellites, जो भी वो करना चाहते हैं in the outer space. Domestic के लिए हमारे पास है New Space India Limited. So please remember the branch. अंतरिक्ष is the branch of ISRO for facilitating foreign commerce या फिर foreign markets, helping them launch or whatever. Domestic के लिए हमारे पास है New Space India Limited. और इसके लिए इसरो हैज डेवलप्ड अ न्यू सैटेलाइट व्हीकल. व्हीकल आपको पता होगा, व्हीकल डज नॉट हैव एनीथिंग, इट जस्ट टेक द पेलोड टू अ डायरेक्शन. जैसे हमारे पास है PSLV, GSLV एंड द लार्जेस्ट वन GSLV Mark 3. इसके लिए आपको प्रीलिम्स के लिए क्या पता होना चाहिए? व्हाट आर दीज व्हीकल्स, व्हाट आर द स्टेजेस दे हैव, एंड व्हाट आर द इंजन्स दे यूज. जैसे PSLV जो है, नाम इसका क्या? पोलर सैटेलाइट लॉन्च व्हीकल. But it can launch satellite in both orbits, polar as well as geosynchronous. नाम बेशक polar है, but it can launch satellites in both orbits, and it is a 4-stage vehicle. Solid, liquid, solid, liquid. It's a 4-stage. जो सबसे बड़ा रॉकेट हमारे पास है और सबसे बड़ा लॉन्च व्हीकल, जिसका नाम है GSLV Mark 3, geosynchronous launch vehicle Mark 3. It is a 3-stage rocket. Solid, boosters, liquid, and last में cryogenic engine. Cryogenic engine has the ability to start with cold. क्योंकि देखिए अर्थ पे तो आपके पास एटमॉस्फेयर है, ग्रेविटी है, बट व्हेन योर फ्यूल ट्रेवल इनटू द आउटर स्पेस, इट लूजेस कंसिस्टेंसी, और वहां पे इट्स टू कोल्ड, एंड इन दैट केस द फ्यूल ऑफन गॉट फ्रोजन. उसे रीस्टार्ट करना मुश्किल हो जाता है. हमने बाइक देखी है, जब इट्स टू कोल्ड तो बाइक डज नॉट स्टार्ट, उसके लिए आप चोक खींचते हैं, ठीक है, टू हेल्प द इंजन heaten up, and ultimately the bike starts. Same इसमें होता है. When you have a launch vehicle, it goes into the outer space, the fuel freezes, and उस केस में restarting the engine to give a direction to the satellite or something is not possible. वो कैसे हम अचीव करेंगे? Cryogenic engine. Cryogenic engine has fuel at very low temperature, and it can restart the engine at will. तो इंडिया पे जो रॉकेट है, that is called GSLV Mark 3. बट ये बड़े बड़े रॉकेट है. अब इमेजिन करते हैं यू आर अ स्मॉल स्टार्टअप, आपको बड़े रॉकेट का आप खर्चा नहीं उठा सकते. You need a small rocket. उसके लिए इसरो ने इंतजाम कर दिया है. इसका नाम है SSLV. It's a very small rocket, a small satellite launch vehicle. ये prelims के लिए आप याद रखेंगे. This launch vehicle weighs only 110 tons, and it can be assembled on demand. Generally rockets में क्या होता है? You place a demand. It takes an extraordinary time. You build the vehicle, then you place the payload, then you launch. बहुत ड्रामे होते हैं इसमें. ये बहुत छोटा सा रॉकेट है. इसे आप एटमॉस कितने दिन में बना सकते हैं? You demand, and within a week you will have a launch vehicle available, and you can launch your small satellite. जो भी है, बड़े नहीं जा सकते इसमें, छोटे छोटे satellite you can launch whenever. तो इसका most important it is on demand vehicle. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि नॉर्मल में कितना लगता है लगभग मिनिमम 70 days. It can go beyond that also. ठीक है. And also it has cut the cost. It is very easy as I told you. Cheaper भी होता है. It can launch a satellite weighing up to ज्यादा हैवी सैटेलाइट लॉन्च नहीं कर सकता. 500 अप टू लियो लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट सन सिंक्रोनस ऑर्बिट में लगभग 500 किलोमीटर जो भी है. ठीक है. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस. जितना हमने पढ़ा है NSIL न्यू स्पेस ओएसटी तो नहीं पूछेगा कोई प्रीलिम्स में, बट न्यू स्पेस क्या होता है. यू नीड टू रिमेंबर न्यू स्पेस क्या है. अंतरिक्ष NSIL जो पार्ट ऑफ द इसरो, SSLV, PSLV, GSLV मार्क 1, मार्क 2, मार्क 3, इसके सब के बारे में यू मस्ट हैव अ डेटा. व्हाट इज दिस लॉन्च व्हीकल, इन व्हाट ऑर्बिट्स इट लॉन्चेस, व्हाट आर द स्टेजेस, व्हाट आर द इंजन फ्यूल. टेक्निकल डिटेल्स मत जाना, साइंटिफिक डिटेल्स हमें नहीं जाननी, बट हैव अ जनरल आइडिया, an idea that a common person with interest in science must have. Too much technicality नहीं, अल्फा बीटा गामा नहीं करना. Just remember basic details. कितना पेलोड वो ले सकते हैं, किस ऑर्बिट में वो जा सकते हैं, कौन कौन सी इंजन की स्टेजेस हैं और वो क्यों है. क्रायोजेनिक है तो क्यों क्रायोजेनिक है, क्या फायदा है इसका, क्या नुकसान है. क्लियर है. प्रीलिम्स के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. चलिए फाइन, दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव. लास्ट देख लेते हैं. रिसेंट में गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हैज लॉन्च्ड Indian Space Policy 2023. Basically, it will help the non-government entities to have launch vehicle, and in this policy permit up to, under this policy you can have investment up to 100% on automatic route in India's space sector, involving manufacturing of satellite component systems and subsystem. फॉर कंप्लीट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड ऑपरेशन, मतलब आप मैन्युफैक्चर भी करोगे, कंपनी भी आप ही की होगी. इन दैट केस यू हैव ओनली 74%. मान लेते यू आर अ फॉरेनर, यू इन्वेस्ट इन इंडियन स्टार्टअप, तो यू विल हैव 100% FDI on automatic route. You come to India, establish your own company. In that scenario, you may have 74. Plus, हम भी पीछे नहीं है. They have launched Space Force, तो हमने भी कुछ बनाया जिसका नाम है Defense Space Agency. So we have also created Defense Space Agency. It's a branch of Indian Army. Special Army नहीं बनाई हमने. It's a branch of Indian Army that will focus on defense space activities. कैसे उसे regulate करना है. Plus Defense Space Research Organization. It is a part of Indian Armed Forces. America has created a dedicated force. हमने dedicated नहीं बनाया है. We have created a branch within our current forces to deal with space activity. ठीक है. बाकी ये सब देख लेना, इन स्पार्क वगैरह गवर्नमेंट के इनिशिएटिव है. अब व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस एज वी डिस्कस्ड. द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज इज डिब्रीज. सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज इन स्पेस एक्टिविटीज इज द डिब्रीज. मिलियंस ऑफ डिब्रीज आर फ्लोटिंग इन द स्पेस, क्योंकि हमने वी हैव बीन लॉन्चिंग सैटेलाइट फ्रॉम एंशिएंट टाइम, एंड ऑल सैटेलाइट डू नॉट फॉल इनटू द अर्थ. सम सैटेलाइट को वी गेट फॉल, बट अ लार्ज नंबर ऑफ सैटेलाइट डज नॉट फॉल. दे कीप ऑन ऑर्बिटिंग. दे आर नॉन फंक्शनल बट दे आर orbiting. So this is a problem. There are more than 1,000 million pieces of space debris measuring around 1 millimeter, and they are rotating at a speed of around 28,000 kilometers per hour, I believe. Yes, they are very fast and they are a danger to existing operation, particularly our manned operation. जो हम गगनयान वगैरह स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, in which the humans will be sent to the moon or whatever, they are a very critical danger to that. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है हमारे पास स्पेस डिब्रीज का. ठीक है. बाकी आपको पता ही है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू साइबर सिक्योरिटी, बिकॉज इसमें भी वही ड्रामा है. यू विल हैव अ स्पेस एजेंसी, तो यू विल डेवलप साइबर सिक्योरिटी ड्रामास व्हाटएवर. क्लियरली एंड इंडिया शेयर राइट नाउ इज बहुत कम है. इंडिया शेयर इन द ग्लोबल स्पेस मार्केट इज लेस देन 2%. So we have to work over that. Clear hai? So we have discussed what is space, what is drama going on, what every country is planning, what India has planned, what is India's efforts. कुछ problems हमने discuss करी. So it's comprehensively about space. चलिए बाकी आप पढ़ लेना. Let's move to next news. India's semiconductor conundrum. What is this problem? I hope everyone remembers we discussed something about previous classes, maybe two theories, Robert D. Kaplan and Mearsheimer, in context of disintegration of USSR. मैंने आपको बताया था when 1991 में USSR disintegrated, there was a question before America. Should we challenge China or should we support China? They were challenge. Should we challenge China right now or should we support China? So there are two counters here. Mir Shaimer, जो काफी बाद में लिखी है उसने book, he argued that America should counter China right now because China is weak, America is strong. If you subdue China right now, you can establish power relations. But if China becomes sufficiently powerful, then it can challenge you. और दूसरी थी Robert D. Kaplan. Robert D. Kaplan argued that America or the world countries should assist the economic rise of China. Why is it so? Because there is a general belief that after food, the second most important thing humans want is freedom. Once you settle the question of economy, from where you will get the salary or whatever, the second thing you will look for is freedom. And I've told you, liberty is intoxicating. Once you taste liberty, nobody can put you behind bars. Wala logic hota hai. So the Robert D. Kaplan argued, if America assists China's rise economically, even though it is politically communist, when economically the middle class will rise in China, they will have money, they will look toward freedom. And over time, China will liberalize itself. But aisa hua nahi. Rather than liberalizing itself, China has become even more dictatorial. With the new premier, Xi Jinping, he is more or less the king of China right now. He has amended the constitution. He has even removed the presidential term. After Mao Zedong, who found China, he is the most powerful president of president of China. And you can call him, basically, he is the king. Clear, everyone? So initially, America believed on what? America believed on Robert D. Kaplan. So from 1991, America assisted the rise of China in belief that China will liberalize, but China did not liberalize. So America has now changed policy. With Donald Trump coming into power, अब देखिए क्या हुआ? America had all the manufacturing and the world was a market. Now China has all the manufacturing and America is the market. So situation palat gayi. Initially, America was manufacturing and supplying to the world during colonial empire. Now the world is manufacturing and supplying to America. Ab the common Americans are in trouble. They are in trouble with respect to job loss. उनको बस इतना दिखता है that 1960s 70s में we had a lot of jobs in America. Now we have nothing. Now they are pressurizing their leaders to bring the jobs back. That's why Donald Trump was carried out trade war with China. अब एक problem है companies के साथ. Apple, which brand itself as American product, manufactures itself in China. Cheap labor, cheap raw material. The amount it will spend on one labor in America, उतने में वो 10 labor खरीद लेगा चाइना में. With equal capacity, even more. उनसे 13 घंटे काम भी करवाएगा, सैलरी भी आधी. सेम इंडिया में. The reason why Indians are taken by American companies, इसलिए नहीं उन्हें प्यार व्यार है इंडियन से. The reason is we are a cheap and quality labor. जितना एक अमेरिकन को पे करेंगे उसमें 10 इंजीनियर इंडिया से मिल जाएंगे आपको और दुगना काम करेंगे. तो लेकिन अब there is a problem. America is saying to these companies, come back home. घर वापसी कराते हैं तुम्हारी. But the problem is these companies are saying it's not economically feasible. So what China is doing, what America is saying them, I can understand you cannot come back to me. At least go to friendly countries. Do not assist China's rise any longer. So that's why you have Apple factory in India right now. To understand, these companies are coming to India. इसलिए नहीं कि हमसे कोई प्यार व्यार है उन्हें. इसलिए क्योंकि चाइना में वो जा नहीं सकती. If they will stay in China, then of course the Western country will pressurize them. West में वो जा नहीं सकती because they are very costly. So option क्या बचा? Friendly countries of US. This is what you call friend shoring. क्या बोलते हैं इसे? Friend shoring. ऐसी terms को याद रखिए, यूपीएससी डायरेक्टली प्रीलिम से पूछता है. Friend shoring and near shoring. Near shoring means if you cannot come to India, then come to Mexico at least. Do not stay in China. So near America means near shoring and friend of China means friend shoring. ठीक है? Understand that context. Now let us discuss Semiconductor conundrum. What is the biggest problem? Because recently it was a news. Tata Electronics, it's a subsidiary of Tata, सबको पता ही है. It is collaborating with a Taiwan company to establish India's first cutting-edge semiconductor fabrication facility. India has a huge dearth of semiconductors. The chips that you use in mobile phone, laptops, India पे नहीं है. And you know, when Corona came, lockdown imposed, Ukraine war came, India mein there was shortage of semiconductors. And that's why the vehicles and everything nowadays use electronic components. तो हम पे components थे ही नहीं. That's why the manufacturing of cars, electric bikes and everything delayed excessively. India is very much critically depends on the world for semiconductor. And who is the largest manufacturer? Taiwan. China नहीं है, Taiwan है conductors का. चाइना भी है. चाइना इज अमंग द वर्ल्ड 5 में आपका यूएस, जापान, चाइना, साउथ कोरिया, बट द लार्जेस्ट वन इज ताइवान. इट्स स्विचेस प्लेस विद जापान. कभी जापान हो जाता है, कभी ताइवान हो जाता है, बट ताइवान इज स्टिल द लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर. स्मॉल कंट्री, लार्जेस्ट प्रोडक्शन, एंड द वर्ल्ड नीड देम. बेसिकली सबको पता है व्हाट इज सेमीकंडक्टर. दीज आर टाइनी वेफर लाइक डिवाइसेस. देखा ही होगा सबने मोबाइल फोन में छोटी छोटी चिपें लगी होती हैं, आईसी सर्किट जिन्हें आप बोलते हैं बेसिकली. ठीक है. And we know they are the building blocks. You can use any device nowadays. Every device ranging from your car, laptop, जो भी आप बोले, सब में you require a silicon chip, and you have to manufacture that, and India does not have that capacity. It means India critically depends on the world. It means if anything happens in the world, any disruption like Corona, Ukraine war, India का problem हो जाता है. We are unable to manufacture, and that's why India is trying to push manufacture of semiconductors in India. Let's see. A semiconductor facility has been launched in Assam by Tata Semiconductor Assembly. It will manufacture around 48 million chips daily for automotive and electric vehicle. Another facility we are creating in another Gujarat. Gujarat याद रखिएगा. So we are creating two facilities, one in Assam and other in Gujarat. And the third one is we are planning this one. What is the India semiconductor dependence? Let's see. Taiwan alone manufacture more than 60% of global semiconductors and 92% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. Basically, the circuits you have, for example, processors वगैरह जो होते हैं. So 92% of the world most advanced and 60% are manufactured by Taiwan. It means the world depends on Taiwan. The world depends on Taiwan for the electronics. India में आपको पता ही है, the way we are moving toward digital India. We are moving toward electronic India. All vehicles are being government का target है by 2050 to replace all vehicles in India by electric vehicles. अब electric vehicles में electronic components ज़्यादा होंगे, and for that you require semiconductor. And also India में you have a growing population, that's tech-friendly growing population, who need smartphones, who need smart tablets, smart watches. तो इसके लिए we need even high performance microelectronic circuits. तो पर हम manufacture कुछ भी नहीं करते. So we need them. That's why we are trying to. ठीक. अब चैलेंज कहां आता है वो देख लेते हैं. The first challenge is that not only we are trying to attract semiconductor industry, even other countries are doing the same. US to Europe, Japan to Malaysia. तो मतलब हम अकेले नहीं है who are saying to Intel, who are saying to Qualcomm कि इंडिया में आके मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करो. दुनिया में सारे देश ये बात बोल रहे हैं, because सबको पता है that we are moving toward technology at a very fast pace, and for that we need large amount of wafers. तो सब लोग अट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं, हम अकेले नहीं है. प्लस establishing a semiconductor facility is very costly. ये सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है. It require substantial investment and that too for a very long period. इतना for a new company or a small company affordability नहीं है. Example के तौर पे, to set up a foundry cost, मतलब a manufacturing unit, you require around 2 billion minimum to around 20 billion. That too for around 6 to 8 years to only break even. Break even matlab no profit, no loss. For 6 to 8 years, you require 2 billion to 20 billion to just set up a small unit. It's too costly. Okay, these are highly technical components. India has always prided itself as the talent capital of the world. हम हमेशा कहते हैं we have large number of engineers. यहीं पे हमारी कमी हो गई है. इंडिया के पास है नहीं. India has a large engineering base, but India does not have skilled workforce. हमारे पास बीटेक इन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स तो है, पर उन्हें इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स का काम ठीक से नहीं आता. देखिए, दिस प्रॉब्लम आप इकोनॉमी में कहीं भी चले जाओ. ये प्रॉब्लम इट्स अ वेरी कॉमन प्रॉब्लम इन इकोनॉमिक्स, किसी भी फैक्ट सेक्टर में चल जाता. इंडिया डू हैव literate people, but India lacks skilled people. आप पे बीटेक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स तो है, but you do not have the skill to create complex models. You cannot create complex semiconductors. So ये सबसे बड़ा पॉइंट है. देखिए कॉस्ट तो है ही, 2 बिलियन इज अ वेरी ग्रेट अमाउंट. $2 billion बहुत बड़ा अमाउंट होता है. एक तो कॉस्ट बहुत ज्यादा, ऊपर से रिक्वायर दैट फॉर 6 to 8 years ओनली ऑन नो प्रॉफिट नो लॉस मैकेनिज्म. उसके ऊपर से इंडिया लैक्स टैलेंट. These are the reason these conductor industries are not preferring India. They are preferring countries like Taiwan, Japan, China भी कोशिश कर रहा है, US. इंडिया में नहीं आना चाहती because ना इंडिया पे टैलेंट है उस लायक का और ना ही इंडिया पे इतना पैसा है उस लायक का. क्लियर. अनदर प्रॉब्लम, द बैगेज ऑफ सोशलिस्ट इकोनॉमी. ये भी एक बैगेज हमारा, बिकॉज फ्रॉम 1950s फर्स्ट 5 year प्लान, लार्जली आप कह सकते हैं सेकंड 5 year प्लान, to 1991 when India liberalized its economy. India was a closed economy and we did not like foreign companies very much. Reason मैंने आपको कई बार बताया है, because India was captured by a private company of Britain known as East India Company. India was never captured by the Britishers themselves. It was captured by a merchant private company of Britain. So we always feared that foreign private companies, if they will come to India, they will influence Indian policy maker in their favor, not in the favor of Indians. This is what we call neo-colonialism. This is what you call neo-colonialism. Colonialism में क्या होता है? One country controls politically another country and economically exploit. Neo-colonialism में direct political control is not there, but a company from a developed world will come to your country, influence your policy maker to change policy in their favor. It will invest 100 crores in your country, give some employment, start a factory, but take back 200 crore or 10,000 crore. Reason being, it's a foreign company. Of course, they will take the profit back to America. बात समझ में आई? This is we have discussed multiple times. Cumulative causation बोलते हैं इसे. But remember, the problem was India was a closed socialist economy. So in 1960-70s, Intel, इसमें नाम लिखा, हाँ लिखा है. 1960-70s में it was reported Intel asked the government of India, if you provide us favorable environment, because government was doing everything, if you allow us a favorable environment, we can establish a factory in your country. So we could have a head start of around 30-40 years. But we missed this bus because we were not liking foreign companies at that point of time. So एक ये भी reason है. So let me summarize this. What are the reason India is not a semiconductor developer in the world? पहला, it is too costly. Minimum $2 billion to $20 billion for a 6 to 8 years. दूसरा, India does not have talented skilled force. India have literate people but not talented skilled force. तीसरा, India had a closed economy up till 1990s. And because of closed economy, we missed the bus. एकदम से कोई सुपरमैन नहीं बनता है. Always told you, it takes time. तो अब हम शुरुआत करेंगे तो 30-40 साल तो लग ही जाएंगे. कम से कम 10-20 साल तो मान ही लो. क्लियर? तो these are the reason India could not become a semiconductor hub. But nonetheless, अब हम कर क्या रहे हैं देख लेते हैं. Modified scheme for setting up of semiconductor fabs in India. Under this, government of India provide up to 50% support of the project cost. जो भी आपकी project cost आएगा उसका कितना support देगी भारत सरकार? लगभग 50% देगी. दूसरा, design linked incentive scheme. If you will come to India, create designs of the fabless chip बोलते हैं ना, fabless chips. If you create the design of that, then India government will provide you incentives, but on design linked incentive. First to design, then incentive. यानी कि पहले incentive, then you design. Design linked incentives. Next, India semiconductor mission. इन्हें डिटेल में मत करना, प्रीलिम्स में कोई नहीं पूछने वाला. जस्ट रिमेंबर, इतना जितना हमने लिखा है, इट इज मोर देन सफिशिएंट टू नो. क्योंकि मेंस का जब आप आंसर लिखोगे इतने में आराम से एक आंसर लिख सकते हो. ठीक है, प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट. लास्ट, इंडिया इज आल्सो एस्टैब्लिशिंग. So we have seen why semiconductor, we have seen what are the problems in India, and then we have seen what the Indian government is doing. Clear hai? So this is about semiconductor. Now next, move to the news, development versus environment. Supreme Court has given a judgment recently. Supreme Court has nullified a notification issued by the Ministry of Environment 3 years prior, 2020 में. In 2020, Ministry of Environment issued a notification. In that notification, they did a very innovative thing. इसको समझने के लिए थोड़ा सा मैं आपको एक चीज समझाता हूँ. The stages of capitalism. शायद हमने पहले भी कभी बात करी होगी. Stages of capitalism. Generally, we divide into 4 ages. Ages or stages of capitalism, we divide into 4. The first was mercantile. A very good example is East India Company. Mercantile में I don't want to control your country. Mercantile capitalism में I will take your product and I will market to the world and earn profit. That is what East India Company used to do. East India Company was a merchant company. It was not a manufacturer. It was a merchant. It came to India. Indians were manufacturing. आपको पता होगा when Britishers came to India, India was sharing 25% of world export. 25% जो आज अमेरिका का सपोर्ट है उतना हमारा हुआ करता था. 25% of world economy हमारी थी. That's why India was known as the golden sparrow or the sink of the gold in the world. क्योंकि दुनिया से जो गोल्ड वगैरह था इंडिया में सिंक होता था because everyone was buying Indian products. So Indians were manufacturing. We sell that to East India Company and East India Company was taking it to the world. This is what you call mercantile capitalism and it is a highly lucrative. And this was the reason Aurangzeb tolerated East India Company. एक बात याद रखिएगा, if Aurangzeb wanted, he could remove East India Company from India. We would have never colonized. पर फिर औरंगजेब ने ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी को अलाउ क्यों करा? इसका सबसे बड़ा रीजन था, we were very powerful on land. We were weak on the seas. देखिए, India has been a tropical land, secured by Himalayas on the north. तो हमें जरूरत नहीं थी दुनिया में कहीं जाने की. We had everything inside the country. The world needed India. The Europeans, they are in temperate zone, आपको पता होगा, frigid बोलते थे से पहले. तो they do not have proper vegetation. अब तो टेक्नोलॉजी से वो कर लेते हैं. At that point of time, vegetation was not easy in Europe. It was cold zone. We were tropical country, sun rays and a good environment and monsoon also. So we were producing everything. We did not need to go anywhere. आप घर छोड़ के बाहर कब निकलते हैं? When you need something not available in the home itself. तो यूरोपियन ट्राई टू रीच इंडिया और आपको पता है वो फॉर दैट कोलंबस घूमने निकले, वास्को ड गामा एंड ऑल, ठीक है. एंड कोलंबस डिस्कवर्ड अमेरिका, वास्को ड गामा डिस्कवर्ड इंडिया, अ न्यू राउट टू इंडिया. तो दैट इज व्हाट वी सेड ना, नेसेसिटी गिव्स बर्थ टू इन्वेंशंस. हमारी कभी जरूरत थी नहीं. वी हैड एवरीथिंग इन इंडिया, ठीक है. वी वर बोर्न रिच, मतलब अमीर परिवार में पैदा हुए थे, तो हम काहे मेहनत करें, ठीक है. तो जो गरीब थे वो मेहनत करें. But advantage क्या होता है? The person who works hard often surpasses the person who is born with the luxury. That's the difference between Rahul Gandhi and Modi. Modi has risen from the bottom. He understands politics very well. Rahul Gandhi may be a good person, but he's born with a golden spoon. He has very good disconnect with the people. Modi has a very good connect with the people. He may not be a good, I'm saying he may be a good person, but not a good politician, particularly for today's task. आज का टास्क बहुत बड़ा है. Anyway, मीडिया भी है. चलिए anyway. तो क्लियर बात समझ में है. तो अमेरिका, ब्रिटिशर्स रीच इंडिया, they needed India. हमें उनकी कोई जरूरत नहीं थी. So they took Indian products, supplied to the world, and Aurangzeb wanted this. देख, आप एक देश के राजा हैं तो आपको तो खुश होंगे ना, if your people are getting prosperous. Aurangzeb tolerated East India Company because he could not imagine कि एक प्राइवेट कंपनी कभी किंग भी बन सकती है. उस समय में ऐसा नहीं होता था. उस समय में monarchy was different and businessmen were different. So he could not imagine that a private company can become the king in a country. So he took East India Company for granted. ये था आपका mercantile. Second phase, industrial. इसका अच्छा एग्जांपल कौन है? अगेन ब्रिटिशर्स, लेकिन ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी नहीं है. नोटिस दिस, ब्रिटेन में इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन होता है, डिमांड बदल गई. इनिशियली व्हाट ब्रिटेन वांटेड, ब्रिटेन वाज टेकिंग इंडियन प्रोडक्ट इन द वर्ल्ड एंड अर्निंग हाई अमाउंट. नाउ ब्रिटिश डज नॉट वांट टू टेक इंडियन प्रोडक्ट्स, इट वांटेड इट्स प्रोडक्ट इन इंडिया. एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द आपका रिफॉर्म्स आए थे, इन्हें क्या बोलते हैं हम, लॉज आए थे, रेगुलेशन एक्ट वगैरह आए थे 70s 80s में. आपका क्या बोलते हैं, मुझे नाम याद नहीं आ रहा. चार्टर एक्ट्स, यस, चार्टर एक्ट्स आए थे. एंड चार्टर एक्ट्स लिबरलाइज ट्रेड विद इंडिया ओनली फॉर टी एंड ओपीएम विद चाइना. ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनीज मोनोपोली वाज ब्रोकन, मतलब एवरी ब्रिटिश कुड कम इनटू इंडिया। और ये हमने क्यों करा, मतलब ब्रिटिश ने क्यों करा, बिकॉज रोल बदल गया। इनिशियली दे वर जस्ट मर्चेंट्स, नाउ दे वर industrialist. They were producing fine products, so they wanted raw material from India, cheap labor of India, but a market in India. अब अगर हम खुद बनाएंगे तो उनका क्यों खरीदेंगे? That's why they destroyed India's industry. इसलिए बोला जाता है British industrialization was funded by de-industrialization of India from 25% of world GDP to less than 1%. ये कौन लाया हमें यहां तक? हाँ देख लेंगे समर्थता से हम। So mercantile capitalism clear है, second stage industrial capitalism, third financial capitalism. अब capitalism बदल गया है। Today's capitalism is money gives birth to money. Financial capitalism, money begets money हम इसे बोलते हैं। You make money by money. वो जमाने गए, you start a factory and earn. अब फैक्ट्री मत बनाओ, पर फैक्ट्री बनाने का ऑरा बना लो। वेरी गुड एग्जांपल आपका एलिजाबेथ होम्स। Elizabeth Holmes was a woman in America, an ideal to a lot of people. She's in jail right now. ठीक है? She launched a company, startup. उसने बोला, I will take a drop from your finger, a very small drop, and I can do every medical test. This is not scientifically feasible. हम इतना बड़ा सैंपल आपकी बॉडी से हम किलो किलो भर के, हम लीटर भर के क्यों ब्लड निकालते हैं? Because every test requires different consistency of blood. She was taking just a drop, and she had this, and she was claiming I can do all testing in the world. She fooled Americans very well. How she can fool? She got people like Henry Kissinger, the Secretary of State, equivalent to Foreign Minister in India. He was in her board of directors. She fooled so brilliantly to the world. She took some samples, she got them tested in regular laboratories, और दिखाया ऐसे कि हमारी मशीन से टेस्ट हुआ है. And people invested billions of dollars in her. People invested billions of dollars on a lie. She made billions of dollars without anything. कुछ जिंदगी में काम नहीं करा. This is the power of financial capitalism. Money, startup. और एक चीज आप समझ लीजिए, today the world is waiting for you. इसलिए तो मोदी गवर्नमेंट is promoting startup. आज के समय में if you can market something, आप गोबर भी बेचोगे ना, सोने के भाव बिक जाएगा. Literally it can. For example, आपने देखा होगा रजनीगंधा. They are selling cancer with class. रजनीगंधा कदमों में दुनिया, ठीक है. लोग खाते, देखिए सबको पता है क्या मार्केट हो रहा है. जैसे हम मैकडो कौन सी सीडीज की ऐड होती है, सबको पता है आप किसकी ऐड कर रहे हो. आप दारू की ऐड कर रहे हो, पर आप डायरेक्ट ऐड कर नहीं सकते, लीगली बैंड है. तो यू डू सरोगेट एडवर्टीजमेंट. पर अंडरस्टैंड दिस, यूजुअली हम क्या मानते हैं, गुटखा गरीबों का शौक होता है, गुटखा खा रहे हैं, थूक रहे हैं. नाउ उसे हमने क्लास बना दिया. चूइंग गुटखा इज अ क्लास, इट इज फॉर रिच पीपल टू डू. दिस इज द पावर ऑफ मार्केटिंग, एंड दैट इज व्हाट यू हैव इन फाइनेंशियल कैपिटलिज्म. ठीक है. अब आते हैं लास्ट स्टेज पे. दिस इज व्हाट यू कॉल डिजास्टर कैपिटलिज्म. इसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हमें ये स्टेटमेंट पढ़नी है. व्हाट इज डिजास्टर कैपिटलिज्म? इसमें नोट्स में है नियोमी कलेन. शी रोट अ बुक, द शॉक डॉक्ट्राइन डिजास्टर कैपिटलिज्म. हेडिंग है इसमें, सब नोट्स में देख लेना. शी आर्ग्यूड वी हैव इवॉल्व्ड अ न्यू फॉर्म ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म टुडे. कैसे काम करता है, उसके बाद मैं आऊंगा कि न्यूज क्या है. पहले उसे देख लेते हैं. The shock doctrine, the rise of disaster capitalism. Naomi Klein, she wrote a book of the same name. She argued we have a different form of capitalism today. ये कैसे काम करता है? Capitalist argues or capitalist influence your policy makers. उनसे बोलते हैं weaken the regulations, environmental regulation, climate regulation, weaken them, weaken clearances, provide ease of doing business. So I will have freeway. I want to construct a 4-lane highway in Himalayas. बनाओ. कैसे बनेगा? एनवायरमेंटल रेगुलेशन को वीक करके. अमेंड एनवायरमेंट एक्ट, अमेंड फॉरेस्ट राइट्स एक्ट, रिमूव द राइट्स ऑफ ट्राइबल्स. तो यू गवर्नमेंट विल वीकन रेगुलेशंस, वीकन लॉज फॉर फेवर ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट एज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस. देन द कॉर्पोरेट विल कम एंड डेवलप, and that development of course will create disasters, and then who will redevelop? Again private. This is what you call disaster capitalism. She argued that today's disaster, she argued in this neoliberal economic world, capitalism, what they do, they buckles regulation, मतलब they weakens them, they buckles them, which generate disasters, चाहे वो military हो, economic हो, natural हो, and after disaster comes privatize. Very good example, Uttarakhand flood 2013 and recent में जोशीमठ, दोनों example है disaster capitalism का. What happened in Uttarakhand flood? You were Himalayas पे, you were making dams, and there's a numerous reports in the world which prove Himalayas पे dams are unsustainably loose because देखिए Himalayas are uplifting. Amount disputed है, but generally we assume 1 centimeter per year. They're uplifting, and when you make a dam, it loosens up over time. Even a small flood washes away the dam. That is what happened in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand mein there was a cloud burst. Cloud burst means heavy downpour of the water. It came, the dam there could not withhold the water. It flushed out. अगर ये नहीं होता तो क्या होता? Water could have gone out, but it accumulated water a lot, and then it flushed out. It took away the entire Uttarakhand also. Same Joshimath. Joshimath mein there's a very clear report. It is the issue of 1960-70s Indira Gandhi's time. When Joshimath mein it was reported that if you do industrial activity, the Joshimath will slide. It's Himalayan ecological zone. But Modi government buckled regulation to create Char Dham. And for the and other highway project, उसके लिए they did blasting in Himalayas. देखिए, in development के लिए अच्छा है. A 4-lane expressway in Himalaya, किसको मजा नहीं आएगा ड्राइव करने में? हम सबको मजा आएगा. But environment को आपके मजे से परवाह नहीं है. Because of that blasting, Joshimath started to slide, and then government stopped in that area. Same इस case में. So that is what shock doctrine or disaster capitalism is. The capitalists, as I told you, they fund political parties to come into power. In return, the political parties weakens regulations, environmental climate regulations that allow corporate to do development without regards of environment, which generate disasters, and after disaster, who do redevelopment? Again, private. So it's a circle. Weaken regulation, disaster, again redevelopment, and this all drama continues. इसका एक और पैरामीटर अगर आपको देखना है, she has argued in today's time, ये book पुरानी है, she wrote that in context of Afghanistan. Why US invaded Afghanistan? The prime reason was US industrial military complex. US is the largest producer of weapons in the world. मैं weapons बना रहा हूं, आप खरीदोगे नहीं तो मेरा क्या फायदा? So she argued that Afghanistan war was invaded. Afghanistan war was created so that you have troubles. War के बिना weapon कैसे बिकेगा? इस पे एक मूवी है, मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा, बहुत अच्छी मूवी बनाई थी इसी इकोनॉमी पे. So it is said that US invaded Afghanistan for what reasons? For US industrial military complex. What she argues in today's time is, what is we are witnessing today? Those who wants to implement unpopular free market policies. I want to privatize banks, I want to do something. It's unpopular. मैं करूंगा तो आप बुरा मानोगे. तो उस केस में वो क्या करते हैं? They take advantage of what the governments around the world are doing. They wait for a disaster. जैसे कोरोना. कोरोना में लॉकडाउन लगाया. You cannot do protest. मैंने लॉ बदल दिया. Same thing happened here. This amendment was brought in 2020. जब पूरा देश लॉकडाउन में था. So Modi government amended, there is something called environment impact assessment. Under Environment Act, a regulation has been made, environment impact assessment. It says that any industrial project that is likely to damage environment, it classify project A, B and C, D करके. The project which are high danger projects, for example, chemical factories वगैरह, you have to do environment impact assessment compulsorily. And after clearance from that, you can start a project. Modi government brought an amendment and said that for linear projects मतलब roadways, highways, airport, ports, you do not require any environment impact assessment. So all these projects were excluded. But the amendment किस time पे लाई गई? Corona lockdown के time पे. When people were dying around the country, the government was busy in weakening regulations for the corporates. This is what she argued, that the leaders, they implement unpopular free market policies. These are unpopular policies, privatizing a company, removing the people, taking the advantage of a disaster. When people are occupied by a disaster, running for their life and other things, government use that opportunity to weaken regulation because people unable to protest. ठीक है, यही सब इसमें लिखा है. अब आते हैं न्यूज़ पे what happened. So Let's see. The government of India passed a regulation in 2020. It weakened the environmental clearance regulation for extracting ordinary earth. Matlab, you can extract as much earth as you want. For what kind of project? For linear projects, for railway, and it was challenged because we have a civil society. Thank God, we are not China. So we have a civil society. So it was challenged to a body known as National Green Tribunal. A National Green Tribunal did not remove the notification. It gave suggestion to the government. It said we are not withholding your amendment, but please put some safeguards. अभी आपने क्या दिया? Open exemption. जितना चाहे आप अर्थ एक्सकेवेट करो और रोड बनाओ, हाईवे बनाओ. इट सेड ऐसा मत करो, कुछ रेगुलेशंस ले आओ कि कितना अमाउंट आप निकाल सकते हो. किसी ऐसे तो आप खोदते चले जाओगे, सेंटर ऑफ द अर्थ में पहुंच जाओगे. इतना नहीं करना है. यू कैन विड्रॉ, बिकॉज जरूरत है ना. वी हैव टू बिल्ड अ हाईवे. इट सर्व्स इकोनॉमी, इट सर्व्स एवरीवन. So we have to, but we have to balance it. So NGT said, do not do excessive. You have given open exemption. जितना चाहे निकालो, जो चाहे बनाओ, कोई approval नहीं चाहिए. It said put some safeguards. Government ने नहीं सुना. For 2 to 3 years, मोदी government ने कुछ नहीं सुना. क्या बोले, सुनाई नहीं दिया. ठीक है. Ultimately, it was challenged to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has ultimately declared the notification unconstitutional. बात समझ में आया क्या हुआ? So you brought a notification in 2020 when the entire country was in lockdown. You found it a good opportunity to dilute environmental regulation because people cannot protest. अगर protest करेंगे तो उन्हें जेल में डाल दोगे बोल के कोरोना फैला रहे हैं. ठीक है? That is literally that happened. Anyone who protested at that point of time was put behind jail. Epidemic Act के तहत. It happened a lot with a lot of people. Nonetheless, this is what happened. अब जल्दी से देख लेते हैं. This guideline says that extraction, sourcing or borrowing of ordinary earth for any linear project is exempted from any kind of environmental clearances. This notification, ये law आप याद रखेंगे, Environment Protection Act. This law governs the environmental protection in India. It was an amendment to 2006 notification. Under Environment Protection Act in 2006, Ministry of Environment passed a regulation known as Environment Impact Assessment Regulations. Under that, every project that is classified as critically danger to environment, like chemical industry, explosives, polluting industries, for that you must carry out environment impact assessment, publish that record for the people so that anyone can challenge. After that, you will get a clearance and then you can start a project. इस amendment ने क्या करा? It removed both. Now the company does not have to publish any data to the public. उन्हें बताना नहीं जनता को कि इसमें क्या क्या इन्वॉल्व है. दूसरा, उन्हें कोई क्लियरेंस की जरूरत नहीं है. तो दो अमेंडमेंट समझ में आई सबको. दिस इज व्हाट वाज डन. अब जल्दी से देख लेते हैं. लीनियर प्रोजेक्ट आपको पता ही है. जो ये दीज आर लीनियर प्रोजेक्ट्स. आपका हाईवे, रेलवे, एयरपोर्ट, कनाल, फेंसेस वगैरह. These are your linear projects. What was the issue? As I told you, there was unrestricted earth removal. जितना चाहे remove करो. That was a bigger problem without any guideline or safeguard. और दूसरा, there was a blanket exemption on public notice. मतलब you can excavate as much as you want for any linear project and you do not have to tell to the people what. So these are the two problems. Open exemption, and it was bypassing basically what? Environmental assessment and scrutiny. So Supreme Court ने already बोल दिया था in Deepak Kumar versus State of Haryana case 2012 में. It was before the regulation. Supreme Court has clearly said that you mandatorily require environment clearance. Supreme Court बोल चुका है. 2000 देखिए क्या law क्या है. 1986 में you had a law, Environment Protection Act. 2006 में regulation आता है, which says that for critically endangered project, that the polluting projects, you must require prior environment impact assessment. Based on that, you will get a clearance and then you can start a project. 2012 में Supreme Court clearly said that you must carry out a environment impact assessment and get a environment clearance from the Environment Ministry. But in the name of ease of doing business, it was amended in 2020. So chronology clear है. 1986 law, 2006 में notification, amended in 2020, giving open exemption. केस का नाम याद रखना, नोबल एम क्या ये पैकादा जो भी है, So this is the case name in which Supreme Court has declared the amendment to EIA as unconstitutional. Reasons बताई दिया. The reasons were, पहला, it violates Article 14. Article 14 has two principles: equality before law and equal protection of law. It means the law should protect everyone, not only the strong people but also the weak people. अब आपने जो notification लाया, it favors whom? The powerful one. So it violates equality or equal protection of law. Your environment notification or any notification should protect everyone. It should take care of the interest of capitalists, but also it should protect the welfare of people. Second thing, there was no definition of linear projects. इसमें clear definition नहीं था linear project का. Virtually any project can be classified as linear project. Second, there was no limit on extraction amount. You can extract as much earth as you want. Plus, there was no justification for waiving public notification. So these were the objections raised by Supreme Court. Pehla, no limit on excavation, no public notification, and no definition, clear definition of the term linear project. So this all violates Article 14, that is equal protection of law, and so this amendment is unconstitutional. अब इसका क्या होता है वो आप देख लेना, ठीक है? चलिए, तो दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव फॉर यू. नेक्स्ट लास्ट न्यूज देख लेते हैं जल्दी से. क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड जेंडर जस्टिस. कुछ टॉपिक यूपीएससी के बहुत फेवरेट है, जिसमें आता है जेंडर, डिसएडवांटेज क्लासेस, एनवायरमेंट, ठीक है? तो कोई भी लॉ, नोटिफिकेशन, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज, एनवायरमेंट, जेंडर, डिप्राइव्ड क्लासेस, ट्राइबल्स, ऑलवेज कवर इट. मेंस में नहीं तो इंटरव्यू में पक्का पूछेंगे. It's a very common thing. So these are very favorite things UPSC has. Sanitation, health, education. These are favorite topic of UPSC and they always ask. Because देखिए, we are looking for administrator. आप काम भी इन्हीं पे करने वाले हो. We are looking for a person who will work for health, education, sanitation, जो भी ड्रामे होते हैं. So always focus. इस पे क्वेश्चन हर बार आएगा और आता रहेगा. और इंटरव्यू में भी if you have to say कि मैं दुनिया में IAS बनने आया हूँ क्योंकि मैं जनता की सेवा करना चाहता हूँ, या तुम तो अपने भी हंस गए, ठीक है, बट नॉनदलेस दे विल आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन. अच्छा, सेवा करना चाहते तो बता ही दो फिर क्या कैसे करोगे. क्लियर है? तो अब जल्दी से देखते क्या सीन है. तो देयर वर टू न्यूज़, आई हैव क्लब्ड बोथ ऑफ देम टुगेदर. Supreme Court in Ranjit Kumar versus Union of India case has now declared that you people have a fundamental right from adverse effect of climate change. Under Article 21, now you have another right. The right is that you have a fundamental right from adverse effect of climate change under Article 14 and 21. Second, United Nations Development Program. It has published a report recently. The report argues that the impact of climate change on a woman and a children is 14 times more damaging. कैसे? समझते कैसे? क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस तो आपको पता ही है. व्हाट इज क्लाइमेट चेंज? कोई बता सकता है मुझे? वो तो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग हुआ. तो मिल जाएगा. क्या नीतीश कुमार है क्या? नीतीश कुमार है क्या? तुरंत तुरंत बदल जाएंगे वो. हाँ, बेसिकली क्लाइमेट चेंज का मतलब क्या होता है? ड्यू टू ग्लोबल वार्मिंग देयर विल बी इरेटिक वेदर. दैट इज व्हाट यू कॉल. देखिए, क्लाइमेट का मतलब होता है वेदर फॉर अ लॉन्गर टाइम. उसको हम क्लब करके बोलते हैं क्लाइमेट. तो क्लाइमेट चेंज का मतलब है ड्यू टू ग्लोबल वार्मिंग द इवेंट्स ऑफ वेदर, हीट वेव, सीवियर हीट वेव्स, अनप्रेडिक्टेबल हीट वेव्स, कोल्ड वेव, क्लाउड, जो भी ड्रामे होंगे, दे विल बिकम इरेटिक, अनप्रेडिक्टेबल. दैट इज व्हाट यू कॉल क्लाइमेट चेंज. अब मेन समझते हैं कि इनका रिलेशन क्या है औरतों से. Why this news has been published and what they argue. Why 14 times a woman is likely to be more endangered. सबसे पहला, large number of women in India, particularly in rural India, they are dependent on a common sense है. Climate change के सबसे ज्यादा impact किस पे पड़ने वाला है? Agriculture पे. So they will be at the forefront of losing wealth. Second, एक study publish हुई है in General International, it's a journal, International Social Work. A journal में a study has been published that argues that CEFM, child early and forced marriage, it increase in proportion to drought, floods and any extreme weather event. The study has found around the world, it's a common thing. Whenever there is an extreme weather event, the chances that a girl child will be married early, that is child early and forced marriages, always increase proportionally. इसका इंडिया में जो एग्जांपल है वो एनएफएचएस ने फाउंड किया है, नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्विस, द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया सर्वे. They have found the women residing in drought prone areas are always married early, because there is a common theme, we live in a patriarchal society. So इसमें क्या होता है, whenever there is a lack of, yes Rahul, that is what it is. So what happens is, whenever there is a declining income, सबसे पहले न्यूट्रिशन किससे काटा जाता है, द गर्ल चाइल्ड से. It is shifted to the boy child. Whenever there is a decline in income means decline in capacity to buy food. So family diverts food from a girl child to a boy child. The reason is because there is a belief that this boy child will live with us, parallel logic. दूसरा, this boy child is destined to work outside. A girl child can work in the home. तो माना जाता है it require less energy. मेरे से पूछो, it require more energy. ठीक है, ठीक है, it require more energy. बहुत मेहनत लगता है भाई, ये बनाना आसान है. ठीक है. Anyway, so there's a perception that household work requires less energy, the outside work requires more energy. So in that context, the girl child must get less nutrition and the boy child must get more. Plus economic insecurity, because when you have economic insecurity and there's a belief in the India, around the world, that हमारे देश में क्या है, that a girl has to go to the boy's family. तो वो सोचते हैं इसकी शादी करा दो. When she will be married, she will not be our liability. She will be the liability of the husband's family. तो वो मैनेज कर लेंगे, हम काहे मैनेज करें. ठीक है. तो दिस इज द रीजन, और इट्स कंक्लूसिवली प्रूवन. whenever there is extreme climatic event, दोनों स्टडी साबित करती हैं. एनएफएचएस स्टडी इंडिया की है और आपका इंटरनेशनल सोशल वर्क, both argues whenever there is any erratic event, the chances of a girl getting married early, forced marriage and child marriage increases. And we can see in India, in every drought prone area, the women are often early married than in non drought prone areas. ठीक है, तो दो लिंक हो गया हमारे पास. With climate change, agriculture is impacted and women largely depends on agriculture. दूसरा लिंक है, with climate change, erratic weather and events will happen that is likely to lead to decline of income. Decline of income means decline of nutrition. Decline of nutrition means liabilities offset, and so girls are married. अब तीसरा पॉइंट देख लेते हैं. This has been published. This has been published by Lancet Journal. Lancet Journal also conducted a study to find a relation between domestic violence and climate. What they have found out is, whenever there is an extreme weather event, there is always increased incident of gender-based violence. Why it happens? Because obviously बात है, जैसे for example, if you're very troubled outside, ये common phase देखा गया है, that when violence increase, when you have a trouble, आप ऑफिस गए, बॉस ने आपको परेशान किया, तो आप घर में आके बीवी को परेशान कर रहे हो. This is a very common trend. So what happens is, a powerful person troubles you, you troubles a person you think less powerful than you. So whenever climate event happen, of course it will lead to loss of income, economic stress, financial stress, food stress. तो उस केस में क्या होता है, of course the person will get agitated, and on whom this agitation vents, किसी और को तो पीट नहीं सकता, पिटेगा बुरी तरह से, तो बचा कौन एंड में, the wife. So that's the link Lancet Journal has found. With climate weather events, if the extreme weather events will happen, they will lead to decline in income, nutrition and all, lead to mental stresses, and on whom this mental stresses will end, in domestic violence. That is what it called, gender based violence. The term is GBV. Basically ये सारे reason है, मैंने को बताना, instability, food insecurity, mental stress, ultimately venting on a woman. Last, the rising temperature and air pollution. तो देखिए हमने तीन लिंक देखे क्लाइमेट के वुमेन से. पहला, climate impact agriculture and agriculture से derive maximum income, so they are insecure economically. दूसरा, with climatic weather event, marriage happens early. Next, with climatic weather event, domestic violence increases. Fourth, with climatic weather event, they impact girls more than boys. आपको शायद पता ही होगा, it is often said that girls should marry or bear child before 30s, because क्या होता है, a girl child is born with eggs. Males में क्या होता है, sperms are produced every time, they are afresh. Women are born with sufficient number of eggs. आपने सुना maniac to menopause. Meniarch when the period start and menopause when the period end. So there is a sufficient quantity of eggs. Matlab these cells, egg cells, are present at the time of birth. So the longer time you stay in polluted environment, the more the eggs deteriorates. इसलिए एक और चीज नोटिस की जा रही है with extreme weather event, particularly दिल्ली जैसे शहर में with pollution and all, the defects in birth are increasing because the cells, sperm को तो नहीं फर्क पड़ता लेकिन जो egg cells हैं because they are present there, they are getting deteriorated. So एक और चीज प्रूव करती है that the climate change, this pollution is impacting whom the most? The woman. Children पे भी impact डालता है because their immune system and other capacities are not as good as the adult. So these 4 points clearly prove that women are intricately linked to climate change. So basically there is a gender question in climate change also. Clear हो गया? This is the study that was published. अब जल्दी से इसे देख लेते हैं हम. What is this drama called? ये हर जगह आ जाते हैं. Feminist हर जगह present है. ठीक है, कुछ भी बोलो, इन्हें तैयार हैं खड़े अपने हथियार लेके, तुम बस बोल के दिखाओ. ठीक है. So what is this ecofeminism? Jokes aside, देखते हैं क्या है ecofeminism. This was started, it's a new theory. 1960s 70s में some women started to understand the relation between environment and women, particularly Vandana Shiva, Beena Agarwal and जो भी इसका नाम है. These are the 3 prominent ecofeminists in India. What is ecofeminism? Linking female with ecology, nature. अब what is their argument? अब जैसा आप गैस ही कर सकते हो, किसे ब्लेम करा जा रहा होगा? मर्दों को ब्लेम करा जा रहा होगा बस. ठीक है, देख लो. According to ecofeminist, the domination of women and degradation of environment are linked because they both are the consequence of patriarchy and capitalism. मतलब मर्दों ने औरतों का और नेचर का दोनों का शोषण किया है. सिंपल, सही बात. अच्छा. So basically they contend that there is an intimate relationship. Ecofeminists argue there is an intimate relationship between environment and woman because of the gender role. ये बात तो है. Because rural areas में who fetches the water, who feeds the child, these are the role of the woman. So if there is nutritional or economic impact, सबसे ज़्यादा impact किस पे पड़ेगा? Children पे and women पे. तो because of gender biased role in the society, the environment impact them. Nurturing and food plus their biology. मैंने आपको भी समझा ही दिया. The eggs they are born, अगर climate change होगा तो उसमें impact पड़ेगा. So the logic of the ecofeminist is that women have an intricate relationship with environment or nature. ठीक है. So basically they argue, or also we have to shift from aggressive attitude toward environment. कैसे? We have to exploit it. Ease of doing business. Highway banana, expressway banana. No. We have to move toward more cooperation and care. Basically they argue these are woman trait. हालांकि कुछ दिल टूटे आशिक हैं, वो इस पे एग्री नहीं करेंगे. They are like ऐसा कोई ट्रेट नहीं है वुमन में. केयर और कॉपरेशन ये क्या होता है? ठीक है. But they argue that woman traits are care and cooperation and men's trait are aggression and domination. मैं इससे एग्री नहीं करता. ठीक है. ठीक है. Anyway, ये क्रिटिसिज्म भी है इसी का. इसका ये क्रिटिसिज्म भी बनता है. Some women scholars argue that ecofeminism is creating what? Gender stereotype. आपका ये क्या कहने का मतलब है कि women are only care giving and all? So you are what you are doing gender stereotype. ठीक है, आपका आर्ग्यूमेंट कुछ हद तक सही भी है. Yes, they are the largest impact whenever the climate change happen, environment impact, women are often more impacted than the boys and the men. But nonetheless, you are enforcing gender stereotypes. Clear है? So this is what you call eco-feminism. देखिए वेरी करता है, कई सारी ब्रांचेस हैं फेमिनिज्म. अब ऐसे हम क्लियरली आंसर नहीं कर पाएंगे. डिपेंड करता है किस ब्रांच की बात हो रही है. अब रेडिकल फेमिनिस्ट है वो क्लियरली कहते हैं दैट मैन डोमिनेट्स वुमन एंड वुमन डू नॉट नीड मैन. उनका मेन आर्गुमेंट है इफ वुमन वांट्स लिबर्टी, सबसे पहले दे हैव टू अबॉलिश फैमिली बिकॉज फैमिली एंश्योर देयर डोमिनेशन. परिवार सिखाता है कि आपका रोल ये है और आपका रोल ये है. जानबूझ के नहीं, unintentionally सही, but this is what they argue. If woman wants freedom in the world, first they have to abolish family, which is the most fundamental unit of patriarchy. It teaches the man's roles are different than to a woman's role. उनका main argument यही है that women are not born, they are made. A female is born. Female is a gender. Woman is a social construct, is an identity which depends upon clothing, food, education. That is identity. तो radical feminists ये कहते हैं, and they कहते हैं woman does not require men. ठीक है, for anything you need from the man, you have technology. So that is their argument. Remove man entirely. ठीक है, from all spheres of your life, and then you can have freedom. ठीक है. So अब डिपेंड करता है किसकी बात करो. अब ये है रेडिकल फेमिनिस्ट, सारे ऐसे नहीं है, कुछ लिबरल फेमिनिस्ट भी हैं वो आगे इतना ज्यादा नहीं जाना चाहिए. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए इनके लिए एक टर्म भी बनाया गया सोशल लाइफ में, आपको पता होगा पॉप कल्चर में, फेमिनाजी. समटाइम रेडिकल फेमिनिस्ट एज अ क्रिटिसिज्म आर नोन एज फेमिनाजी. कुछ ज्यादा एग्रेशन में चले जाते हो. देखिए अश्नीत, अब इसमें क्लियरिटी नहीं है जो आपको पसंद है. रेडिकल फेमिनिस्ट कुछ ज्यादा ही है. देखिए मानते हैं कि यस, फैमिली इज अ यूनिट दैट प्रोपोगेट पेट्रियार्की. सही बात बोल रहे हैं वो. But you can reform this unit. ना देखिए, this unit not only propagate patriarchy, this unit provides a lot of things. It provides psychological comfort. It provides security, social and otherwise. It builds character. It builds personality. हाँ ठीक है, it is biased for patriarchy, तो उसके लिए we can reform this. ये कहना कि abolish family as a unit, आपको मर्दों की बिल्कुल ही जरूरत नहीं है, आप अलग जियो, ये तो बहुत ही अग्रेसिव हो गया. ठीक है, so liberal families थोड़े अच्छे हैं. They say the state shall make laws to regulate the personal life even in the family. अगर कोई डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस हो रहा है, सेक्सुअल अब्यूज हो रहा है, उसे रेगुलेट करो, बाकी चीजों में फ्री छोड़ दो. एंड हमेशा देखिए, द ओनली सॉल्यूशन आई बिलीव इज टू द डोमिनेशन, एजुकेशन एंड इकोनॉमिक एम्पावरमेंट. तो मेरा जितना मैंने थोड़ी बहुत पढ़ाई करी है उसमें मुझे इतना ही समझ में आया कि द ओनली सॉल्यूशन टू वुमन फ्रीडम इज ओनली टू थिंग्स: एजुकेशन, द मोर दे कैन हैव, एंड सेकंड इकोनॉमिक इंडिपेंडेंस. ये सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. विदाउट इकोनॉमिक इंडिपेंडेंस यू विल ऑलवेज बी डोमिनेटेड बाय द पेट्रियार्की, द हस्बैंड साइड. ठीक है, पर ये लॉन्डो को कुछ खास पसंद है नहीं. ठीक है, मैं आपको बताया था, हमने कई बार डिस्कस भी किया है. द वुमन हु सेज दैट आई वांट टू वर्क आफ्टर मैरिज आर द लीस्ट टेकर, मींस दे आर द लीस्ट प्रेफरेबल चॉइसेस इन द मैरिज सिनेरियो यूजुअली. और ये मैं बेवकूफों की बात नहीं कर रहा, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द लिटरेट पीपल. और मैंने आपको बताया था, एज फैमिली इनकम इंक्रीज, द डिजायर दे हैव फॉर अ गर्ल चाइल्ड टू वर्क आउटसाइड डिक्रीजेस. ज्यादातर उन फैमिलीज में जहां पे दे कैन नॉट, दे हैव कंपल्शन, जैसे रूरल एरियाज में दे हैव कंपल्शन, क्योंकि अगर वो बाहर काम नहीं करेगी तो खाएंगे कैसे, क्योंकि मर्द तो सारे कहाँ हैं, या तो दारू पी के पड़े हुए हैं या फिर शहर, जोक्स असाइड, शहरों में है. द मेल्स आर इन अर्बन एरियाज वर्किंग, सो हु इज लेफ्ट बिहाइंड? Women. Elderlies cannot work, children cannot work. बचा कौन? Women. So they have to work in the farm. Urban areas में जरूरत पड़ती नहीं है. So as family income increase, women participation decreases. So the only two things we require is, जो solution मुझे समझ में आता है, education, the maximum they can have, and economic independence. Always. ठीक है, बाकी आपकी चॉइस है, जो चाहे करो. ठीक है, चलिए बाय बाय देन. तो दिस वाज द न्यूज आई हैड. बाकी तो कुछ आई थिंक बचा नहीं होगा. हाँ यही था. The 4 news we had, please do them. I started a new scheme, Yuva Nidhi, that provide monthly per month. Will this lead something? Could lead. मुझे एक बार समर्था देखना पड़ेगा उसे डिटेल में, क्योंकि क्या पैरामीटर्स हैं, पर अगर ज्यादा होगा तो हो सकता है. अगर स्टेट लोन इसमें बहुत ले रही होगी तो देयर चांसेस. इनको नहीं दिया, नहीं प्रोग्राम हमको मैंने दे दिया, 2 दिन हो गए, सारे चेक करके दे दिए मैंने. आप यार ऐसे कैसे, मैं नाम से चेक किया है मैंने, मुझे याद है. दोबारा पूछना उसे. मैंने उन्हें दिया था, क्या नाम उनका, भाव्या मैम, वो जो ठीक है बाउंसर टाइप की मैम है, उनको. 3000 फॉर ग्रेजुएट, 1500 फॉर डिप्लोमास. अच्छा, देखिए अगर ये लोन से फंड कर रहा है तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. अगर लोन से फंड नहीं कर रहा है तो देखिए गुड चांसेस. वी हैव टू सी दिस. अब उनका फाइनेंशियल मॉडल समर्थन मुझे देखना पड़ेगा क्या है, बट यस इट कैन. अगर आप केवल लोन से फंड कर रहे हैं, नहीं, द गवर्नमेंट विल टेक द लोन टू फंड दिस मनी. दैट इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. अगर ऐसा हो रहा है तो प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, बट इफ गवर्नमेंट हैज सम अदर सोर्सेज तो मुझे नहीं पता. ठीक है, चलिए एनीवे दिस इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट. अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है तो कुछ तो करेंगे वो लोग. बाय बाय देन, वी विल मीट अगेन नेक्स्ट सैटरडे.